Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops in Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
Blake, I gotta tell you, I'm feeling a little rusty here. It was kind of weird doing that intro there. It felt like maybe you should have done it since you did such a fantastic job of reading through that first line there with Robbie when he came on the week that I took off.
Oh man, I don't know about that, and didn't sound rusty at all. So if he wouldn't have said anything, no one would have ever known. But yeah, we missed you. We're happy you're back, but we hope you had a good vacation.
Yeah, all went well. It's just weird getting back in the saddle, right, as it always is after vacation. But I appreciate you guys holding down the fort, right, keeping everything going. Summer League was thankfully entertaining, at least like the first three games. Kind of started to trail off there at the end, but as it usually does. But why don't we just jump into it? We got a decent number of questions here. I assume we'll get some from our live chat as well. If you are tuning in live, first of all, sorry for bouncing around the time a little bit. We're both busy in the background here, so we made it work. Also, short notice on this recording. I don't think we actually got up the stream till late last night. So you know what? Look, it's vacation time for everyone. It's middle of summer, not too much going on, so we appreciate it. If you guys are tuning in with us, make sure you drop in your questions there into the live chat, and we'll hit on those as well. But look, before we get into any of that, let's just take kind of a high level overview of Summer League, right? What did you see? What stood out? And I guess what are like one or two of your bigger takeaways from that?
Yeah, if I'm starting just like Pistons specifically, I don't know if it probably was the fact that the Pistons didn't have a high first round pick this past or last month that we got the first look of that player at Summer League. So I think it was a little less exciting, I guess, or anticipated for me. It was still fun watching the team get together and see how some of these players come together. But I think the biggest takeaway far and away Pistons wise is Ron Holland looked like the best player on the court when he played. I saw Keith Smith from Spotrac posted a bunch of notes from being at Summer League in person, from talking to different executives, and an unnamed Pistons executive, we can speculate whoever that is, said that they thought Ron Holland looked like the best player in all of Summer League, which I think that is a very fair takeaway. But I think for me, every year watching Summer League, I try to ground myself a little bit because it's so easy to get excited, especially when you have a high pick like that, and just think about what should you take away from this? I think if you do have a top 5 pick, a number 1 pick, whatever it might be, you just want to see flashes from that player. Obviously, if you have a guy like Cade or Cooper Flagg, you're hoping they dominate. But other than that, just hoping for to see some flashes. But then when you get into the year 2, the year 3 guys, especially someone like Ron Holland, who had a good rookie season and we're looking for him to take a leap. I think with those year 2, year 3 guys, you're really looking for them to show you I am way too good to be on this court right now, which I think is exactly what Ron Holland did. So I don't think that you can ask anything more. And certainly some flashes from Bobbie Klintman, Chaz Lanier, Dennis Jenkins, of course. But I think far and away the biggest takeaway for me was Ron Holland. And if I'm just going a little more macro, league-wise, it might have been because the Pistons don't have a top 10 pick too, but I don't know. I thought Summer League wasn't as exciting this year, and maybe it's because Cooper Flagg played just 2 games. Ace Bailey didn't play at all in Vegas. But overall, I think if you're a Pistons fan, you have to be thrilled with what Ron Holland did in Vegas.
Yeah, Ron Holland, too good for Summer League. Let's put some numbers to that, all right? So here were his numbers. In 3 games, this is what Ron Holland did. It was 21.7 points per game, 6 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 4.3 stocks on 53 from the floor, 47 from 3, and 77 from the free throw line. He shot 5 3-point attempts per game and 8.7 free throw attempts. And the two things that, for me, really stand out there. 4 steals per game in those 3 games. That is unbelievable. That is just unreal. That's unbelievable. And then the 8.7 free throw attempts. So the thing with Ron, and I'd be curious to see if this was your takeaway as well, but yes, he looked physically, he looked bigger. I thought he looked a little bit quicker, more under control, but it was what really stood out to me was the way everything just seemed to move so slowly for him. And that's really what's showing up there in that steals number, right? He's not only reading the game really well on offense to be able to pick his spots, put himself in the right place, make the right move for the right finish, all that stuff. That shows up on his field goal percentage, the free throw attempts, all that good stuff. But it's up on defense as well. Everything just seemed like it was coming so easily for him. I was surprised he got a third game. Like after the first game, you go, oh, wow, okay, like back it up. And then he did in the second game. And almost like he was sleepwalking a little bit to start, just trying to focus on, I shouldn't have said sleepwalking, focus on getting other guys involved, right? Focus on the defensive end a little bit. And then when they needed him to take more of a scoring load, he did. And he just looked like a different level of offensive player than honestly even I really expected coming into the Summer League this year. I didn't think the jump would be that big. I mean, even if you just compare his percentages from the floor to last year's Summer League, night and day. So that was the takeaway for me with Ron Holland. Were you seeing the same thing? It's just like he was processing so much more quickly than anything that was happening around him.
Yeah, I think like the game definitely slowed down, and like obviously having a full rookie season under his belt helped with that. Like he would have played 82 games if he didn't get that 1 game suspension, and then you get a playoff series on top of that. And also just like going back a little bit further, I think even his season in the G League like kind of helps in that setting, just because it's a much quicker pace than college basketball. You can argue like the talent level and everything like that, but I think Ron has good like experience, I guess, to thrive in that setting. And honestly, I wonder, like me and Robbie were talking about this last time about how we recorded it right after the first Summer League game, I believe. So the question at that point was, how long is Ron Holland going to play? I think YouTube user, if he's here right now, mentioned like a half of the second game. That's sort of what I thought too. So I was a little surprised he got the third game. But I wonder if it's because the Pistons were trying to make a push to win Summer League, because I believe it was that third game that they lost, if I'm not mistaken. And I mean, it's so hard to win Summer League. You basically have to win out pretty much to even get in like the 4-team playoff. So they didn't end up making it. I think it obviously would have been cool if they would have got there, or even into the championship and everything. But I'm assuming that's why. And like, I'm not mad at it, because like obviously nothing bad happened. And I think it's just good to get those reps, and cool to see like the full team, like the guys who weren't playing Summer League there as well. So like if Ron Holland's there and he's on the roster, like why not play if he wants to and the team thinks it's an okay idea.
All right, let's really quickly talk about 2 second-round picks here, and then I do want to get into Dennis Jenkins and Tolu Smith, because those were 2 guys I wasn't necessarily expecting to look as great as they did, and they really, really look great. But let's look at Chaz Lanier and Bobbie Klintman. So I'll kind of lay the floor for you. You can pick either one, whichever one you want to talk about first. But what was your impression of one of those 2 guys, or well, each of those 2 guys out of Summer League now?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll go with Chaz. Like, I think he's the more. They're both a little unknown, but I think just being a second round pick, and like, what is Chaz Lanier going to be for this team? Like during the draft, it was reported that the Pistons were drafting him to roster him. Doesn't mean he's going to be in the rotation. Like, honestly, at this point, I'm not expecting him to be. And like same goes for Bobbie. I think Chaz specifically was a little off and on at times, but he definitely like gets his shots up, he can hit them at times. It was a little bit up and down, but I think like with the Chaz Lanier pick, it's clear that the Pistons front office thought he was the best player available. And you can't have too many shooters on the squad. Like, we've been through seasons where we're dying for 3-point shooters, and I don't think Lanier is going to like come in and shoot the lights out by any means, but like maybe he can grow into a pretty solid 3-point shooter at the NBA level in however many years from now. And maybe it's in Detroit, maybe it's not, but especially when you go out and you acquire Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson, and especially Robinson on a fair, like a really team friendly deal that this front office can control if they want to bring him back after this season. So if Lanier pops, like, he can definitely be a bench piece, but I think it's going to take some time overall.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing with Chaz Lanier, all right? He didn't have the best summer league. It was 10.4 points per game, 1.8 rebounds per game, 2.2 assists on 34 and 34. So from the floor and from three, respectively. He didn't shoot a single free throw attempt, so he didn't get to the line once.
Crazy.
Yeah, it is. In 5 games too. It's kind of crazy. I mean, he was popping from three all the time. It was 8 3-point attempts per game. But look, here's the thing. Okay, he looked like a second round pick, right? Like I honestly believe that part of the not that anyone's really nervous, but I've seen a little bit of mild disappointment about his performance in summer league on Twitter and in some media boards. And like, look, he looked like a second round pick. There's a reason he wasn't a first round pick. This is going to take a little bit of time with him. And he did what you want, right? What you want out of a second round pick most of the time in summer league is to kind of get your feet wet and show some flashes. He had some stretches there where he really showcased his ability to shoot the ball quickly. And I think even off the move too, which I think is great. So he's got some things to work on. He's got to pick up to the speed of the game, right? That'll be even a larger transition when he gets to actual NBA minutes. I think you honestly expect that he's going to be in the G League for quite a bit. That's going to be good for him as well. And he's going to have to adjust a little bit with his jump shot. The release is a little bit low. It's a little bit of a set shot. So it's even harder when you're making that level change. When you're a shooter, right, you're going from college to summer league, and the athletes are bigger, longer, faster, quicker. And on top of that, he's shooting it just a little bit lower and a little bit lower to the ground as a shorter guy. It's just going to take a little bit of time. So I don't think there's anything really to be worried about with Chaz Lanier. I think he performed at expectation. And yeah, so let's see what maybe like half the season in the G League does, and maybe on the back stretch of the year he gets a couple of spot minutes here and there, and let's check back in then. How's he looking then?
Yeah, I agree too. And like, I mean, I think it's such a benefit that basically every NBA team now, not all of them, but almost all of them, their G League teams are pretty close. So like, being able to have roster Chaz Lanier and also have him assign him to the Motor City Cruise and get some actual like minutes there, an opportunity where he probably won't have that right out of the gate with the Pistons, I think is a huge win. And honestly, I think his archetype, like, he can be pretty good in the G League and get those reps. So I think that's super important. And just to switch to Bobbie Klintman, like, I think it was a little bit of a similar story, like up and down for the most part. He has that 20-point game, which was impressive, and he goes 3 for 6 from three, 7 for 11 from the field. But other than that, like, the up and down summer league for Bobbie Klintman, like, and I understand the concern, I guess, like, it's a second year player. You want him to be a bit more dominant, but like, I don't know. I don't think it's like a huge concern because it is a second round pick. I know we're dying for one of these second round picks to like hit and become a rotation piece and like a real player for this team. But I think you at least have a couple options right now that can do that. Like, I'm not necessarily writing Bobbie Klintman away just because of his summer league. I mean, I think there's a lot of work to do as well, but like you never know, I guess.
I'll say I'm a little worried about Bobbie Klintman. Not like, give up on him, move on. It's never going to happen. But like, it seems like the one NBA skill he really has is that passing, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
He's got great court vision. He's a creative passer. Though I do wonder sometimes, like, he's a very good passer. He has very good court vision. Do we like rate up that passing because it's a little flashy, so it stands out a little bit? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I haven't taken too much of a keen eye to that yet. I should watch for it more if he starts to get more NBA minutes. But like, he's going to need to find something that he does really well. That's honestly probably not passing the ball. As I look at him as a 4, right? He's a 4. He can maybe do some moonlighting at the 5 and small ball lineups. And if you're going to be at the 4, you got to be able to score a little bit, or you got to be a really good defender. And I think he's an okay defender. I don't think he's a bad defender. I like the way he communicates out there. He's not a huge impact guy. He's not a big time shot blocker. He's not the best athlete in the world. Offensively, he doesn't finish around the rim all that well. That jump shot's a little slow, and it's not really shown up all that well outside of Bryce was talking about it on the Pistons Pulse, but he had like a half season in the NCAA where he shot really well, but everywhere else has been in the low 30s. Like, his handle's not the tightest. He's not the most fit. There's just a lot kind of going against him at the moment that does leave me a little bit concerned. So I hope like all this goes away if he could just become, a really good shooter. That you wipe all this away. If he's a shooter who can also pass the ball, now it opens up some really fun short roll stuff that you could do with him, or pick and pop stuff. And he's a pretty exciting forward that you could have on the roster. If he could, maybe finish around the rim a little bit better, that would go a long way too. If he could be a big time steals guy on defense, that'd go a long way. But like, he's got to find something that you can pair with that passing. And I don't see it yet. So that does make me a little concerned.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. And I think even like worst case scenario, like he's not an NBA player. Like, he's not the type of guy that is part of the long-term plans that this team is like interested in retaining. That is okay. Like, his contract, I believe, is guaranteed this season, and after that it's non-guaranteed and like second round contract. Then there's like a team option at the end. So like, I know that we really want one of these guys to hit, but like, I think if it doesn't work out that way for Bobbie Klintman specifically, like I think it's going to be okay.
Agreed. All right, to wrap this up, so to close this up, last thing. I have 2 things to say, one for each of Dennis Jenkins and Tolu Smith. I would be very happy if Dennis Jenkins was the 14th or 15th guy on this roster. I think that'd be wonderful. I thought he looked also too good for Summer League, which for an undrafted guy in year 2, my goodness, was that a shock. So I'm over the moon excited about Dennis Jenkins. Don't get too excited. Like, he shouldn't be getting minutes. He's not better than like Marcus Sasser or anything like that. But I think the guy's earned a promotion to be with the big club and get the garbage time or maybe injury minutes, right? Like, if you had to play him for 10 minutes on a random game in December, I would be okay with that. I think I'm at that level of comfort with Dennis Jenkins. The second thing, Tolu Smith, man, if Paul Reed weren't here, I'd be saying the same thing. I thought he looked great.
Yeah. And I mean, with Jenkins, like, so, I mean, just to cover off a little news, like the Pistons signed Colby Jones to a 2-way contract. I saw they waived Ron Harper Jr. Today. So do you see Jenkins getting that, like, a roster spot, or do you see him sticking in like a 2-way deal?
Well, I mean, I think honestly he's overqualified at this point. To me, it feels like he's overqualified for the 2-way. So if you could keep him on that, then more power to you. That's just more flexibility for the organization. But if you want to honor the guy's the work that he's put in, bring him up on a slightly larger deal for the 14th or 15th roster spot, whenever that's going to be eventually. Like, I just don't think he'd be out of place at it. I think you're pretty happy with. I mean, he'd be what, like your fourth point guard technically on the depth chart?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be totally fine for Dennis Jenkins there at the back. Whether or not they do it, I don't know. But at the end of this season, going into next season, I think at a minimum you're pulling him up.
Yeah, and I mean maybe it is a thing because like there is a limit on games that two-way guys can play, and we've seen
And
that.
time with the club, right?
I think it's like it's like 50 games dressed or something like that. I could be slightly off, but I think there comes like a point in the season where your two-way players, if they're contributing to your roster, you want to keep them around, you do have to assign them to an NBA deal. And I mean, we've seen that happen in the past, and also we've seen two-way guys like earn the last like roster spot and things like that. So I think there's just some flexibility they might be keeping there, and I wouldn't be shocked either way if like Jenkins starts the year as a two-way or if he gets one of the last roster spots by the way. But I mean, hey, if what we saw in summer league like stays, then and he becomes like a real impact player for this roster, not like a huge minutes guy or anything, like, hey, undrafted free agents are just as good as like finding a second round pick that works too. So yeah, I was excited about what he did. He definitely looked too good to be there, which is huge, like you said, about an undrafted guy in just his second year who spent most of his time in the G League last year.
Yeah, Dennis is like this close to being, well, to be like a quadruple A player, right?
Yeah.
Where it's kind of that awkward middle ground. He's too good for the G League, but can you really be giving him a bunch of NBA minutes? Maybe not yet, right? So intriguing guy, nonetheless, to keep around in the system. So I'm hopeful. Like, I think it's a coin toss if they actually give him that roster spot or not this season, but I'm hopeful that he's around for a while. I'm intrigued by Dennis Jenkins. Sports Time has this question, and I don't know how to answer it, so I feel like I got to throw it to you. Did you guys see Asar's cameo on Sabrina Ionescu's Nike commercial for her new shoe? So there's a lot of new information in here for me. One, Asar was in a commercial. Two, Sabrina's got a Nike shoe. Yeah, I got no idea what's going on. Blake, catch me up.
I did not see specifically Asar Thompson, and I don't know if I like even watched the commercial, honestly, but I did see, I think like Klay Thompson was in it as well or something like that. So I'll have to go back and watch it for sure. I do not have a pair of Sabrina's shoes, but I have heard from friends who like still play rec basketball and stuff that they are some of the most comfortable basketball shoes and best ones that you can have. So maybe that's what Asar uses. So that's cool. Also, like the Thompson twins got on the cover of Slam magazine. Yeah, I think we saw Cade do that, but I thought that was cool. I mean, they have like such an interesting story and like both true like basketball junkies. So I was happy to see that too. And Amen like was incredible last year. Asar was too in his own right. So like, yeah, I mean, I think Amen, depending on what happens with the Rockets, like he could be their star one day. And I think Asar has true like all defense level potential. So I was happy to see that too.
Yeah, it feels like the Thompson twins are on a media push or something. I'm not opposed. I like it. Let's keep getting more eyes on Detroit and Detroit players, right? But real quick to your Amen Thompson thing, I think he might be able to make a push as early as this season. And I know that
Yeah,
that's
he's
saying
great.
a lot, but oh my goodness, is he something special? Okay, you know what? Let's just stick with Asar Thompson here for a second. So this is Derek Brown. Says, predict what an Asar Thompson contract might look like in the future.
I would love to find a comp deal for this. And just because like I don't have a specific like I guess rookie extension in mind, like, and I think it'll be a little bit higher than this, but something similar to like what Nikhil Alexander Walker got with the Hawks, just like similar, which is 4 for 60, by the way. I think Asar's would be more than that, similar length, but much more money. Like, honestly, I think Asar would be closer to like 25 per year, but just in the sense of like, a player who you don't know how much they're going to give you offensively, but they do a lot of great things on the basketball court. So like it does, I guess, scare me a bit that you would be committing so much to a player that is almost an unknown or maybe even just isn't going to like score much for you or what have you. But I think overall, like even let's see what Jalen Johnson got in his extension, which I know his was 5 years, 150 mil, which is like 30 a year. So maybe you can take that and bump it down a little because he's much more of like a centerpiece and like a scorer on that Hawks roster, which like I think Asar can be a true building block for this team for the future. It's just like, I don't know if you're going to give a max deal to a guy who you don't know what he's going to be on the offensive end.
Michael Dompier bringing up Jade McDaniels. I looked that up. That's a good one. Yeah. So he's at like touch under 25 in terms of his cap hit here for the upcoming season. I could see that being probably right around. Comp.
Like that's a good one.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And like, you got to inflate it up for another year, right? Or another 2 years before it actually hits. Asar Thompson's contract extension, because he's going to get a contract extension. I don't think there's any question. He's earned it already in my book. I'm the least concerned about that contract extension because guys that are incredible defenders, but not the best offensive players, don't tend to get overpaid. Like historically, the risk here of Asar Thompson getting a value in this contract that would be like where you're looking back 3 years from now going, man, what do we do with this? Very low, very low. And then at that point, you're looking at it as, well, hey, maybe if he did figure out some of this scoring thing, putting the ball in the basket, then great. Now it's gravy and we've got him kind of underpaid. Like I think he could be looking somewhere in that 25 to 30 range. It'll kick in 2 years from now. Right. So I'm not worried at all. He's going to be worth that. He already would have been all defense second team this season if he played enough games. Like that level of defender at a premium position too, that can guard 1 through 4. That's worth that money. And honestly, more than that money, but you're not likely going to need to pay him that. So, yeah, I think Asar Thompson, Jaden McDaniels, great comp for that. And we're all going to be real happy keeping him around for another 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and I know all the cap savvy guys like Keith Smith and our guy Kyle Metz are like always talk about just looking at the percentage of the cap because it's going to like go up. So the dollar amount that Asar Thompson is likely in for like might look crazy, but I mean, I think the McDaniels one is like spot on. He's hovering right around 15% of the cap, like through this extension. And if you look at Johnson, it bumps up a bit, hovers between like 15 and 20. And then Alexander Walker that I brought up is just below 10. So I think like that one is certainly low. Like I think if you just look at it from a perspective of like give him 15% of the cap, then I think it is a good deal no matter what the numbers work out to, because I think he is undoubtedly worth it right now. And then compare it to like a guy like Cade who gets 30, like 25 to 30. He got bumped up with the all NBA honors. I mean, I think that is is definitely reasonable, doable for how this team has been set up. And yeah, I'd be surprised if he didn't get a contract extension. Like, I'm with you in the boat of like, I'm just expecting it to happen once he officially becomes eligible.
Yeah, he's going to get his contract extension. There's a next to 0% chance that he's overpaid in this contract extension. Like Asar Thompson is the least of the Pistons' extension worries. You know, they're potentially trying to negotiate with Ivy and Duran. There's potential for either of those to be an overpay if they get done. Like in the future, if Ron Holland's still looking a little like a ball of clay, right, when he's up for his extension, there's a chance that that's going to be an overpay if they go ahead and move forward with that. Asar Thompson, no, defense first guy, one of the best defenders in the league. He's going to get what he's worth, and we're all going to be very happy about it. Real quick, this is Mimsy313 says, hey, Wes is back. Hello, Mimsy313. Says, how is Knights of the Old Republic, which is a throwback to a few episodes ago. I was busy reading over vacation instead of playing on my Switch. So I got to get back into Knights of the Old Republic. That's my fault. Are you familiar with the game, Blake? I don't know what you play.
I'm not. I was gonna ask you what this is. I'm more of a sports game guy right now, so I am not super familiar.
I also am more of a sports game guy. It's a very old. Oh, geez, I shouldn't say that because it dates me as well. So it's an older, like role-playing RPG type game for. I forget what console it came out on originally, but it's Star Wars. It's a Star Wars game.
Oh, so, okay.
A lot of fun. Pretty cool. I'm still in the early stages, and like I said, I didn't get to play it too much. I also am more of a sports game guy. I just re-downloaded Forza Motorsport because they added in the IndyCar chassis, and I'm pretty big into IndyCar racing as well. So I that was $30 that I won't get back, but hey, it's worth
it. It is worth it. Yeah, I've been. I haven't had a lot of time to play video games, but I just got the new college football, and I have like a online dynasty with a group of people. So it's fun. Just play like one game a week, and some weeks you're against like someone else in the league, which is fun. We're just the Big Ten. I'm Oregon. I don't know how I lucked out and got that, but it's fun. Those games like make you mad, but I'm happy the college football games are back.
I still got last year's. I just don't think I'm going to buy the new one. I don't care that much. I
wouldn't have if it wasn't for this league.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay. Let's do let's do this one next just to get it out of the way. This is Dave, 10.9 miles north of LCA, said, would a sign and trade deal of Jaden Ivey for Cam Thomas make any sense for the Pistons? ... question mark. So Dave's questioning this a little bit as well as he's writing the question. I'm editorializing, but that's what I'm reading here. So this was the news of the week, right? If you guys are lucky enough to not be on social media, then you missed that a sportsbook had the Pistons as the betting favorites to land Cam Thomas in free agency, and that has sparked much conversation amongst Pistons fans online. So Blake, what is your take here?
Man, I mean, when you frame it like this, I don't think it makes much sense. And like, if the Pistons could get Cam Thomas, like, I would be interested. I think he's a good player. I think he could help this team. I don't think this front office would be willing to give Cam Thomas what he's looking for in his new contract. I don't really think many teams would, and that's why you're sort of seeing this stalemate with the Nets. So overall, I mean, and they're also like similar players. Like, it's kind of a one or the other thing to me. Like, maybe Cam Thomas is a better shooter, what have you. But I don't know if I'd want to give up Jaden Ivey to go and get Cam Thomas. And we were talking about this a bit off air, but like, who knows if the Nets probably wouldn't be interested in that anyway because of what they just did in the draft, the amount of guards that they have. I mean, their draft didn't make much of any sense at all. So like maybe they would be. But overall, like interested in Cam Thomas if it's like a lower deal that you don't have to commit to, and like I'd pay him some money, but probably not what he wants. And I just like don't think that like Langdon and staff are really interested in committing to a player like that right now, especially when you have all your own guys who are going to be up for contract extension soon that you're still trying to figure out like what you have in house.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, like, there's no reason to think this would happen. There's no reason to read into those betting lines at all. Look, I am in my professional life an economist, so I have a lot of respect for betting markets. They can convey a lot of really good information, but all this is telling you is that a lot of people right now are betting that Cam Thomas will be on the Detroit Pistons. And I got news for everyone, but it is the dog days of the summer and bettors are bored with the NBA. There's nothing happening. So I don't think you could read into this at all. There's no insider info here. It's not going to happen. Like, to your point, I think Cam Thomas and Jaden Ivey are similar class of player right now. I think if you were going to give either an extension, they'd probably, or in Cam Thomas's case, a new contract, it'd probably look pretty similar in terms of the dollar value. I don't personally understand why Cam Thomas gets such a bad rap. I think he's a very good player. He's a very good offensive player. Like, his 24 points per game, 3.3 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and 0.6 steals. He was 44, 35, 88 from the slashing from the floor and 6 free throw attempts a game. He actually had a better assist to turnover ratio than Jaden Ivey last year. Now, obviously, both of these guys had their seasons cut short last year due to injury. Look, Cam Thomas is a very good player. He's a very different player. He's much more score first. If you are of the opinion that Cade Cunningham needs just a pure bucket getter somewhere on the court next to him, Cam Thomas would be a great target for something like that. So, like, at the surface level, Cam Thomas, if they were to do something like that, would certainly be, in my opinion, a Jaden Ivey replacement. I just don't, one, think they're actually going to do that. And two, I still would really like to see this out with Jaden Ivey. I think that the potential there with the way he can also facilitate a little bit more. I know I brought up the assist to turnover ratio there, but Jaden Ivey's a more creative playmaker for others than Cam Thomas is. I like the idea of kind of a combo guard next to Cade rather than a pure shooting guard next to Cade, which is more Cam Thomas. So I wouldn't even want to do this. I could see why maybe some people would. Regardless, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And I know, like, I mean, first of all, I don't know if you like bet on this stuff, more power to you. But I think from when the news came out, it was like a offshore gambling site and stuff. And like, obviously it's something interesting to talk about when there isn't much going on. The restricted free agency like across the league is pretty crazy right now. So yeah, overall, if the Pistons were interested in bringing in Cam Thomas, like, I wouldn't be mad at it, but I think it, at least as the team stands right now, it wouldn't be the role he wants or the value that he's looking for in his next deal.
Yeah, if you were going to add Cam Thomas, you'd have to find somewhere else to send Jaden Ivey, and then what are you getting in return for that? Like, how do you orchestrate all this? I guess all I'd want to say to close it out is I don't think Cam Thomas is empty calories. I don't like that thing that gets levied against him. He's a much better player than that, and he's not a black hole either. He's made a lot of strides as a passer these past couple of years. So big fan of him. Just I don't think that he's going to end up in Detroit. Let's do this one here from Rames. So this was, we replaced Schroeder, Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Simone Fontecchio with 2 players, Karis LeVert and Duncan Robinson. So he says that's 2 less rotation players, and neither of Karis LeVert or Duncan Robinson are guys that have historically gotten 30 minutes per game. So what he wants to know is, does this point to another move coming to complete the roster? Or is the team expecting the young players to step up? So young players like Asar, Ivy, and Ron Holland.
Honestly, like I'm not sure there's another rotational move that's coming, and I just think that like I know many people nationally as well as like in just the Pistons world have talked about like we're sort of like Jaden Ivey coming back is an addition. And Schroeder came into the fold after Jaden Ivey went down. So I think that the when you add Ivy into the equation, it definitely helps like round out your rotation. I mean, the most interesting part of this, like if you frame it from that, and if you want like a second lead guard, like sort of what Schroeder filled in. Like we can go and get that at the deadline too, especially if something happens or if Ivy isn't running the second unit or we just like need some more support. But I think like Karras and Duncan are gonna fill those like minutes that THJ and Beasley had. And then really like the big question to me is how are Fontecchio's minutes going to be filled? I think the team can do that in many which ways. I think the most likely outcome to me right now is like Ron Holland just gets more minutes. And obviously, Ron Holland is not the shooter that Simone Fontecchio was, but Fontecchio, especially last season, had some like up and down stretches. So
I was
hopefully,
going to say Fontecchio wasn't the type of shooter that Simone Fontecchio was
yeah.
last year.
Yeah, so like hopefully what we saw in summer league from Ron Holland carries over into the regular season, and that's just like an easy answer. But there are some other ways that you can fill it as well. Whether it's I know Bobbie Klintman didn't have an impressive summer league, but if he gets a few minutes here and there, so overall, like I think where the roster stands right now is likely very close to final. I think if we see a move, it's really going to be at the end of the bench, and maybe it's just upgrading Dennis Jenkins to a full roster spot.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I do think I like the idea of signing a bigger body power forward, but I don't love the idea of a Chris Boucher or a Trey Lyles. I think frankly those guys are too good for the role I would have in mind
Mhm.
in Detroit. Like I would like to bring in someone that's not going to play unless someone gets hurt. That type of depth at the four position because they just don't really have that yet. Other than that, yeah, I'm completely with you. I don't think that there are any rotation moves left to be made. Actually, like Karis LeVert was a pretty shrewd kind of move there by Trajan Langdon, being a guy that look is not a point guard. You wouldn't want Karis LeVert actually running point guard for long stretches of time at all. So don't look at him as a Schroeder replacement. But he's the kind of guard that goes really nicely next to a combo guard like Jaden Ivey, who needs the pressure taken off him every now and again because he's also not a pure point guard. So he was, I thought he was a really smart signing there, specifically for how he and Ivy would look together in bench lineups. And of course, he's got flexibility to play next to Cade as well. He's a good enough shooter for that, especially on catch and shoot stuff. And Duncan Robinson, we haven't gotten to talk about the Malik Beasley thing. And, also shout out to Sean who called in a couple, I think this would have been just before all that Malik Beasley news dropped. So he had a question about, what the Pistons were going to do on that kind of contract that we're obviously not going to talk about, but shout out to you, Sean, for the call anyway. We appreciate it. And leave another one if you can. But yeah, I thought that Duncan Robinson in the wake of the Malik Beasley stuff was about as good of a plan B as you could have gone to for at least a 1-to-1 replacement. I know there was that Nickeil Alexander-Walker rumor, but that's not the same type of player. So I don't know if that actually would have been 1-to-1. No, I think that they've done a good job here with the cards they were dealt, and they were going to need Ron Holland and Jaden Ivey and even Cade and Asar and Duran, all these young guys, Isaiah Stewart too, to take a step forward to even maintain. So assuming health through the rest of the Eastern Conference. And I think that was always true, and it's true now.
Yeah, and I think like obviously we were planning on Malik Beasley coming back and getting a new deal here, but like Duncan Robinson is a very good player, and I think the interesting thing about him is like we haven't seen him outside of the context of playing in Miami. Like he had some really good years, he had some up and down times, but like with Malik Beasley, when you bring him in on a 1 year deal and he has this career year playing next to Cade Cunningham, like Duncan Robinson, maybe he won't shoot at the same level that Malik Beasley did, but I think playing next to a player like such a top tier guard who makes everyone next to him better, like Cade, like I think that only makes the Duncan Robinson signing more like intriguing, I guess, when there's the unknown of what he looks like and what he is outside of Miami.
And really quickly, are we both on the same page with what's happening at that backup 4 spot? Like pretty much those minutes are going to Ron Holland and Asar Thompson, mix of both, right? I mean, it even looks like reports are sounding like Asar's bulked up. It certainly looks like Ron Holland is filled out quite a bit. I don't think that's an accident.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't think like Bobbie Klintman is ready. Like I think he's the other answer you could say, but like I don't really see him being a immediate part of the rotation, and it just makes all the sense of the world to give those minutes to Holland and Asar.
And I just, as an aside, I really don't think that the team's all that concerned about size at the backup 4 position, at least for regular minutes, because Fontecchio, not a 4. Like we talked about it when they made the trade for him down the stretch of that season. Like he's a 3. You don't want to play him up with the 4 too much. He's going to get overpowered. Yeah. We saw a matchup with I think it was Julius Randle down the stretch, and he just got buried. Like it. You did not want major minutes for Fontecchio at the 4, and what do they do last year? They play him almost exclusively at the 4 because you know what? It's not as much of a concern with bench units. So I'm not too worried about it. It doesn't seem like they're all that worried about it either. Any final thoughts here on this question?
No, I mean, I just think they have a pretty solid rotation, and I know, I mean, Malik Beasley was so huge, and like I expected him to be back, and like what happened is really just like unfortunate, I guess. But I think like I've seen the argument of whether this team got better or not, and like I mean I think the only debate with that is like if your young guys do what you expect them to do and like make a jump, I think they certainly got better, and that's not to discredit the additions that were made when the Beasley plan like goes away, because I think they made some really, really solid moves to help fill what they need, and like seeing the success of last season and like what you need to do to continue that and keep it going. The one thing I will say is like, I would have liked to retain Tim Hardaway Jr. on like a minimum 1 year deal, but I guess I'm not losing sleep over that one either.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that one. Would have liked to keep him, but I'm sure he wants to go chase a ring. So more power to him, and hopefully he gets some minutes. All right, let's go to our final question, unless we get maybe one more sneaky question there in the comment section here with the live audience. But this is a voicemail from a fella.
Hey, this is a fella from the DBB comment section. How y'all doing? Love the pod. Appreciate you both, Wes and Bryce. Question for you. It looks like with the day 2 free agency down, you've got Karis LeVert sliding in for Dennis Schroeder. You've got Duncan Robinson sliding in for Malik Beasley, but nobody really sliding in for THJ. And we're down shooting. How, with Chaz Lanier having the NBA skill of shooting, do you feel like he can smoothly slot into that THJ role and that Detroit will have enough shooting to make it through the NBA season? You think he's not ready? How do you think that's going to mesh? Or just with the shooting in general, you think Kate Cunningham's going to have enough space to operate? All right. Appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one, and I look forward to hearing this live.
All righty, Blake. So what do you think? Chaz Lanier sliding into that Tim Hardaway Jr. role.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think he's going to be in the rotation immediately. Like, I think the hope is with that draft pick, like maybe he gets to that point eventually. And I mean, so like THJ started, so I don't think Chaz Lanier is anywhere close to that. But if you put it in perspective of like maybe he's another shooter that comes off the bench, like I don't think he'll be in the rotation right away. But if it's a foul trouble situation, like a set play where you're looking to have an extra shooter, like I think he could potentially be an option that this team goes to. But I think it'll be very light minutes, if any, to start. It's kind of like if your rotations get thrown off for whatever reason on a certain night, then maybe you go to that. But yeah, I mean, I really see Levert and Robinson like filling what Beasley and THJ gave you from a shooting perspective. And obviously you still have the concerns of like Jalen Duren and Asar playing next to each other. Like, what is Ron Holland shot going to be? So like, if you need an extra shooter on the floor, like maybe that's when you go to Chaz Lanier. But I just see it as more of a long-term hope, and maybe that hope doesn't work out, as opposed to like having Chaz Lanier replace Tim Hardaway Jr.
Yeah, and like I think I was doing this too, as all of the dominoes were kind of falling at the start of free agency, trying to like one-to-one who are the guys that are getting brought in, replacing in terms of who's going out. And like it's just not that simple. Like I don't think it's actually one-to-one. Karis LeVert's not replacing Dennis Schroeder. Karis LeVert's like partly replacing Tim Hardaway Jr. and partly replacing Dennis Schroeder. And Jaden Ivey's doing the exact same thing. Jaden Ivey is basically a Tim Hardaway Jr. and Dennis Schroeder replacement baked into one. And Duncan Robinson's coming in and taking also some of Tim Hardaway Jr.'s role and some of Malik Beasley's role. Like it's just a little bit different. So like we talked about earlier, just don't think that Chaz Lanier is ready to go, ready for big minutes, even if it's not starter minutes, just minutes off the bench. I don't really think he's ready for that. That'd be a lot asking of any second round pick, really. Like if this roster were truly in a position where they needed Chaz Lanier to play and succeed in somewhat substantial NBA minutes, we would have some bigger problems here with the roster than we do. So it's really a good thing that they don't. As far as the shooting thing goes, I waffle back and forth on how concerned I am. Anyone who's listened to the podcast enough knows that I am also very concerned about Jalen Duren and Asar Thompson sharing the court for long stretches of time. And they did take a step back. So Tim Hardaway Jr. is a better three-point shooter than is Karis LeVert. Karis LeVert's a very good catch-and-shoot guy, especially when he's open, but he's not that level of shooter. I worry a little bit about Jaden Ivey. Like, was that just kind of a 30-game flash in the pan? Is that going to be something where he can really sustain 40% or even 38, 37% over the course of a season? I'm hopeful, but I don't know that for sure. You mentioned Ron Holland. Like, he's got to get up over 30 in order to make this work. I don't know if he's going to. Early returns are promising, but he's got to actually do it. And of course, Tobias Harris is a good but not amazing shooter. I do think that Isaiah Stewart's going to look a little bit better. So there's the narrative that Isaiah Stewart was told to stop shooting the basketball. As far as I've been able to find, that's not actually true. He was told to stop picking and popping, which makes sense. Isaiah Stewart wasn't all that great at pick and pops the year prior. And so this year he was doing pick and roll or in the short roll much more often. He turned down a ton of open looks on just casual swings or as the trail man in transition. Down the stretch of last season, he stopped turning him down so much. So I think that he's going to factor in more to the floor spacing this year, which will be a significant positive. All that said, I'm a little concerned. How concerned you got? It depends on the day.
Yeah, and like, I mean, if it's such a glaring, I guess, need, like, maybe then you look to Chaz Lanier or Dennis Jenkins as your answer. Like Sasser gets a few more minutes here and there, but also like you can go out and make a trade. I think this team is very well positioned to make a trade. Like maybe they don't want to give up all their assets or commit to someone that's on a long-term deal or is looking for an extension. That's totally fair, but I'm pretty confident that, like the Dennis Schroeder move at the last year's trade deadline, like whatever the need might be, if it's another guard, if it's someone that's going to serve as like a catch and shoot guy, whatever it might be, I think that option will be available. And I think this front office will definitely do everything they can to go ahead and like make that move because certainly like they're probably trying to take another jump next year, even after the team so much like over succeeded and excelled last year.
Yeah, this is another learning year, right? I mean, they're trying to set this up, and I think they did a good job. I think Trajan Langdon did a pretty good job of not allowing. We talked about this actually, if I remember right, not allowing the veterans that are around to take a step back. So they did lose all three of the guys that they were potentially going to lose. But the guys they brought back are at that same level, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Karis LeVert, Duncan Robinson are at that same level. I understand Malik Beasley had a historic three-point shooting year. It was no guarantee he was going to repeat that. In fact, I might even say it was kind of unlikely that he was going to repeat that. So I'm pretty confident in saying Duncan Robinson's in the same stratosphere as a shooter. All right. So they're not going to take a step back because of the veterans they have, which is all we wanted, right? We want them to either maintain or take a step forward because guys like Asar Thompson took a big step. Guys like Ron Holland suddenly made you question whether you need Tobias Harris at the trade deadline, right? Like those are the things we want to see this year. You want Jaden Ivey and Jalen Duren to come out and say the fact that they haven't been extended yet is ridiculous and just prove that emphatically. That's what we want to see. And they are allowing the runway for it. So it's going to be interesting. It's kind of a weird position to be in, right? To have had all the success that they had last year and to back it up with still a basically we're learning however good we're going to be is at the feet of the young players on our roster, but that's where they're at. And I think they've done and operated within that constraint very well this summer.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I mean, I think just the biggest question going into the year is what are these young guys going to do? I think even though the roster will look a lot different, like in terms of like the theory of how it can work, it is pretty similar. And I'm just, I guess, like really bullish on the whole Duncan Robinson signing, like one, because of the deal that it is, and two, just we're gonna miss Malik Beasley, but like I think Duncan Robinson playing next to Cade like could do wonders for his own career and like play Trajan Langdon into guaranteeing the second year of his deal and what have you, because he's like an older player, but he's like I think 30 on the nose, so like he could be around for the length of this deal if things go well, and I think it is in a position like for it to work.
Yeah, completely agree. Blake, we got to close out the show because Derek Brown's trying to get me in trouble. I can't respond to this one. He says, I just don't know how Duren, Asar, and Ron all work together in the future. That's going to get me in trouble. So we're just going to have to pass on that unless you want to take it.
I mean, like it comes a point for every team where like all these guys are up for a deal and you have to pay some of them. And then there are some like really hard decisions and like contracts negotiations that have to be had, and like we've seen the I guess nothingness happen so far this offseason with Duren and Ivy. And a lot of that is likely because we know that Asar is eligible next year, Ron the year after. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think of that if you add Ivy to that group, I don't think it's possible to really keep all of them for the deals that they're probably looking to get, which stinks, but maybe it could even like work out better for the players and also for the roster if there's like add a shooting big if you can, even though those are really hard to get.
Can I just ask? I'm going to ask it once, and I hope to never revisit it. But let's not play the game that we played with Andre Drummond, where like you'd get into the off season and you'd see some videos of him in an empty gym shooting threes and be like, how many threes is Andre Drummond going to shoot this year? Like, can we please just not do that with Jalen Duren? That's all I want, Blake. That's all I want. I don't want to do this again with Jalen Duren. He's not going to shoot threes. It's okay. It's a good thing that he works on it in the offseason. You want guys working on all their game. 100%. He's not going to shoot threes. Let's not do this again. Don't hurt ourselves. Let's not do this again.
Hey man, that's July and August for you. So we'll probably see
that
it.
And Cam Thomas leading the sports books to Detroit, right? That's what we get in July and August.
Oh yeah, 100%. So it's obviously easy to get excited about that stuff, but yeah, if we've learned anything in the past, just ignore it, I guess.
All right, last thing. There was a video, like a very stylized Asar Thompson workout video that the NBA Players Association, I think it was, put out. It was like an artsy kind of workout video. Really weird. I don't actually think I've ever seen anything like it before, but this was a video. It was like 14 seconds that gets put up by the NBA PA. And there were questions in the comments of it, like, does Asar's form look different? This was a 14-second, like, highly stylized fit. Oh man, we need the season back. The summer league just ended. We need this. We need some more basketball. Where's Team USA?
Oh man, I did not see this video, but I am looking at it right now, and yeah, we
need something to watch, man. I feel it too. We know we need some basketball to watch, and it's just not there. So we got to look at commercials and see if we can assess it, figure out what Sar's been working on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that is fun. And now I'm seeing this Nike commercial that he's into, and he's wearing like construction gear and carrying 2x4s. So I'm definitely going to have to watch this in full when we get off.
Okay. Yeah, I will check that out as well. Sports Time bringing up the commercial again. Yep. All right. I'm definitely going to have to watch it. So we'll see. We'll give the report next week. How about that?
Yeah, there we go. Cool. I'll close this out from there. Shout out to everyone for joining and the questions and everything. And shout out to Afella for using the voice line again. We really appreciate you. Reminder, anyone can call that number to ask a question, hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting this show. And shout out to you guys for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.